Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and today we're still inside because it's bitter cold outside. So I'm going to be doing a project with some clearance Amaryllis bulbs that I happened to pick up, and we're going to be starting Alyssum seeds in a new seed starting method. Okay, so I actually ended up picking up several Amaryllis bulbs from Callaway's. They were in clearance after Christmas, and that's something I've done in the past. I really like picking up like non-Christmas colors after the holidays. I'll pick up pinks and whites. You can still pick up reds and all that kind of stuff if you want to. I'm usually able to get these for about 75% off, and so I actually ended up picking up a couple or three of them, and I was wanting to do a project utilizing my favorite blue and white salt glazed pottery. Now, I have a collection of blue and white salt glazed pottery. I have 6 or 7 pieces, and they all started with this one pitcher right here, which belonged to my grandmother. And these have been said to have been made in the late 1800s into the early 1900s. And so I think it's maybe antique. It might be over 100 years old. I'm not really sure. They're not known for being like highly sought after pieces or very expensive pieces. I just already had this one from my grandmother that I inherited, and then I just really fell in love with like the look of it. So a little bit about salt glaze. I actually have a degree in three-dimensional design and sculpture, and I used to have a ceramic studio a couple of homes ago. I had a ceramic studio prior to the birth of my first child, and then once I had my first kiddo, I realized that all the toxins I was dealing with at the ceramic studio wasn't necessarily something I wanted to bring home to my family, so I stopped doing ceramics. But I am still obsessed with ceramics, and someday in the future I do hope to have a ceramic studio again. But I love the process of just taking this clay and just molding it into things. And so a little bit about the salt glaze process. So basically, it's the idea that you kind of create this kind of orange peel texture on the outside of the glaze. And that is done by like, you heat the glaze, the ceramics up into a certain temperature, usually the peak temperature in the kiln. And at that point, you open it up and you throw salt in, and that's what creates kind of this orange peel texture. Now, a lot of times when you say blue and white pottery, people think of like Delft ware or something like that. This is a little bit different. I love this kind of light blue into lighter blue. Let me show you a darker one too. Okay, so here's a few more pieces I own. This one's a larger piece. It has a bow imprint on it. Most of these are made from molds. So you can actually see the mold line right here, plaster mold. So you can actually see the line where the original mold would have met. So these were mass produced. This one has a basket weave with a floral design on it, and I love moments like this where something's, you know, happened to the glaze and it's not perfect. I love ceramics that are not perfect. This is a little bit of a darker version. I suspect that this piece isn't as old as the other pieces, but you can get it in a little bit of a deeper blue. I only collect pictures, specifically pictures to go along with the original piece from my grandmother, but I really have a love of these blue and white pictures. I love to fill them with floral. I use them for like pouring milk for breakfast and things like that. Like, I really, really enjoy them. They're very much my aesthetic, and I do enjoy the hunt for them. I always keep my eye out at thrift stores, antique stores, vintage markets, things along those lines. And I've had a really good time collecting them over the years. I've collected all of them except for this one right here. My friend Kristen found this one in California and brought it back for me. I especially love this one that has the deer and like a baby doe or a baby deer right there. And it has a kind of a tree pattern that goes up really pretty. I'll put some close-ups of all of these. Now, this blue and white salt glazed pottery is dishwasher safe and oven safe because stuff fires to thousands of degrees. So you can put this in the dishwasher and you can put this in the oven. I do not. It's just not something I'm interested in, and I think I'm too uptight to do it. So I don't really stress about it. Mine are dirty in the inside. It just kind of is what it is. And I don't stress about it unless I'm going to actually be putting a food product in there. With that being said, I've selected 3 of them. I'm going to do the original one from my grandmother, this one right here with the deer, and the smaller one. And what I want to do today is I want to plant my amaryllis down in there. I'm going to plant a little bit lower where you can't actually see the stem. But I'm going to add soil and get these planted in there. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so we're going to start with my favorite potting soil, Burger BM7, and I'm just going to go ahead and start filling up these containers about halfway to start off with. So here we are right there, and I'm going to kind of gently press it down a little bit, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my very simple amaryllis bulb. This is the top where the green is, this is bottom with the roots, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give it a little twist and nestle it down in there just like that. And then I'm going to go back with just a little bit of soil, not very much, like literally another inch of soil, and then that's it to hold this in place. Very, very simple project and a really fun way to have floral inside without it looking too Christmassy. So as you can see in there, you can still see more than 50% of the bulb. We do not want to bring the soil too far up because the soil will get down into the layers and will rot out the bulb. So very simply like that. All right, and then one more. Okay, and easy peasy, just like that. Now I am using amaryllis bulbs. You can certainly use paper whites, and I did buy several paper whites that were on clearance. I'll be doing another projects with those as well. You can buy paper whites. You can even do this with forced hyacinth or tulip bulbs. I really love the idea of utilizing the blue and white pottery for this because this is an aesthetic for my house that I absolutely love. I love amaryllis. This particular variety of amaryllis is called Christmas Gift, and it is a beautiful white traditional amaryllis, about 14 to 18 inches in height, and typically each bulb is going to give 2 to 3 stems, and each stem is going to have 4 to 5 blooms on it. So these should last a good month. Now the soil I put in here was semi-moist. I may or may not add a little bit of water. These pitchers do not have drainage holes, so that's something that's really important. If I choose to water these, it'll probably only be once. And that's it. I probably won't water more than one time because there's nowhere for the water to drain. So it will just sit in this pot. And when I water, it'll just be a little bit of a sprinkle of water, not much at all. The bulbs pretty much have everything they need to go ahead and start blooming. And so what I'll do is I'll get these set up on my kitchen table, or I think my kitchen table. I'm not sure where else I might put them. I'll get them set up and take some close-up photos for you all. Okay, I'm excited about those. Like I said, don't forget that you can force bulbs. So if you have tulip bulbs or hyacinth bulbs, you can also do those. This project does not have to be specifically amaryllis. So definitely keep that in mind. And this is a really fun way to make a traditional like holiday bulb not look holiday by incorporating something unusual like the blue and white pottery, or you could do terracotta, or you could do whatever beautiful brass pitchers you have. Whatever you have would be really fun to tuck in some of these bulbs for kind of a, mid-winter design. Okay, so next we're going to shift gears and we are going to start sowing some alyssum seeds, and we're going to use a new kind of seed starting technique that I haven't showed you this year. I might have showed it to you in the past. That's more of a space saving approach. But let's talk a little bit about the alyssum. So I am going to be starting Royal Carpet Alyssum. The seeds I bought are from Southern Seeds. Alyssum is a very easy to grow flower. It is a long lasting flower. It is very low to the ground, about 4 to 8 inches, and can spread out up to 18 inches. So it's definitely more of like a ground cover or an underplanting. Alyssum can also be planted in full sun to part shade. I feel like mine does a little bit better with part shade and will last further into throughout the spring if it has a little bit more shade. A lot of people grow it as a cover crop, and by cover crop, it's going to cover a lot of your soil, so it really helps with like water retention, moisture retention. It really helps attract beneficial insects to your garden because pollinators love alyssum. It's a really great underplanting for areas that you have vegetables like tomatoes or peppers because it brings in so many pollinators that helps produce more fruit from your vegetables. Another thing that I like about alyssum is that you do not have to do anything to these seeds. You don't have to soak them. You don't need cold stratification. You don't need anything like that. You can literally just go ahead and plant them in the container. So let me show you how I'm going to approach this new way of sowing these seeds that will save a little bit of room, because if you've watched my latest videos, you know that I am running out of space. Okay, so for this seed technique, basically what we're going to do is we're going to be sowing a bunch of seeds in one of these containers. We are not going to be using my traditional 12 cell insert that would go in here on the container. We're going to be working with just the water reservoir. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take 3 because I'm going to be doing this with some other varieties. And then I'm going to take my drill. I'm going to select, I think this is a 3/16. Just something to come up. There we go. I'm going to select a drill bit, and I'm going to be drilling holes through this. Now, one hole is not going to cut it. This actually has circles on the back, 8 circles. I'm going to do 8 holes. I put my drill bits back. I'm notorious for just laying down the drill bit and walking away and losing it. My husband's not like into tools or anything. I'm the one who loves to do all that kind of stuff. But I hate putting tools away. I struggle. Thank goodness I have a husband who comes through and he puts all the tools away and organizes them for me because he knows, well, here you go right there. He knows that I'm going to lose all the things. Okay. All right, so now we have 3 containers. We're only going to be using 1 today, but I've got 3 that have holes in them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another reservoir that's a match that has no holes in it. So the idea that I have this one that's going to be filled with soil with holes, I can put water in the bottom reservoir and I can put it in there like that. It allows it to suck up water as needed, but also makes the entire watering process super easy. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my BM7, my Burger BM7 potting soil, making sure that it's all kind of broken down, no clumps. And I'm going to come in here, spread it out. Just like that. Okay, so we've got the soil in here, and remember, this is the one with the holes. So on the one with no holes, I'm going to go ahead, fill this about halfway with water, and then we'll just set this here and allow it to start soaking up the water. Very simple, and you can actually see it go down in real time. Okay, so typically I would have the 12 cell insert right there, and I would have 12 little plants. What I'm going to do is I'm going to surface sow these seeds across the top of here using quite a few seeds. The idea that I will sprout a whole bunch of these to start off with, and then as they get bigger, I will transplant them into their own individual seed cells. So the idea being that you would just take these, and Alyssum seeds are surface grown, and I don't want to overwhelm the container, so I'm probably putting about half of this packet, which is about 50 seeds. Just like that, okay? Now, Alyssum seeds are surface sown, meaning I'm not going to cover them, and they need light to germinate. I am going to add some vermiculite on here, and vermiculite allows airflow and light to come through, but also keeps moisture up here on the top to make sure that the seeds stay moist for germination process. And then at this point, we're just going to leave the one with holes in here into the one that already has the water in the reservoir, and we're going to cover the top of it with our humidity dome. Now, with this technique, it allows me to start a whole bunch more seeds in one container instead of multiple. With the Alyssum, I would love it if I had 50 plants. Like, that would be absolutely amazing. I would tuck them all over my garden. But if I wanted to start 50, I would need at least 4 containers, if not 5 containers. And that would take up a whole lot more space than what I have. So by starting this way, it's going to allow me to have all of these germinate, and then I will transplant them to larger containers. Will I need more space later on down the line? Absolutely. But when getting started right now, this is going to make things a little bit easier. By the time it's time to transplant these, and I suspect it's going to be about 3 to 4 weeks before I actually am ready to transplant these, we are going to be getting into a time where it's going to be a little bit warmer potentially, and I might be able to start growing some of these in a portable greenhouse outside in the sunshine, because Alyssum can handle cooler temps. So that's kind of my goal, that I get them to a certain point inside in this tray, and then when I pot them up to the next side, at that point in time, I'm actually transferring all of those outside. So they're actually not going to be growing under the grow lights after the initial potting up. And this is something that's going to be important for me to kind of start trying out more often, because I don't have tons and tons of space. As I've told you guys, and as you've seen my recent seed hauls and all my plants, I need more space. I totally need more space. So I think that this is going to be super helpful for the process. And I am going to be trying this process several more times along the way. And I will definitely keep you updated on this. Now, a little bit more about the germination process of Alyssum. We already talked about these are surface sow, and they need light to germinate. They can be kept at about, I think it was 55 to 70 degrees for germination. That's pretty cool. And since I'm inside my house, and typically my house is about 67, I am not going to be putting these on a heating mat. They don't need that for germination. If you are starting your seeds and stuff outside, or when I say outside, maybe in your garage or basement, if it's below 55 degrees, you're going to need a heating mat for your Alyssum. Germination rate is about 5 to 14 days. I've heard it being much quicker for Alyssum, which I find really satisfying when they germinate really quickly. I just really enjoy that. But I'm really excited to have this as an annual. This is more of like a winter into early spring annual. It does not do well in the heat of the summer. It will die back at that point in time. But I'm totally fine with that. I am really hoping to focus on a lot of ground cover this year to help with weed suppression. I think it would be really fun, and then to just maybe create just more of this like whimsical fairy tale look. If I have mounds of purple and white flowers like this Alyssum tucked underneath my daffodils, or my zinnias, or whatever it is that I planted in my garden, I think that's going to be absolutely beautiful. When I'm putting these in, since they need light for germination, we want to have it as close to the light source as possible, so you can see I'm lifting it up. Typically, when I need them, when I'm starting them, I would have them on this lower shelf. I would really like to add an additional lower shelf where it's just this like 5 to 6 inches. I would really like to add an additional one, because I think that'd be helpful with the initial starting, but I don't have room for it down here. So what I've done is I've put a pot underneath and then put this under here to raise it as close to the light source as possible. Now, if you do not raise it up to the light source, the seedlings can get really leggy, and with Alyssum, it's hard to fix something like that. You can fix something like that with like tomatoes because they can grow roots anywhere on their stems, but other seeds, it's kind of really hard with that. So you don't want your seedlings to get super leggy. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, learning a little bit about the blue and white salt glaze pottery that I collect, watching me plant up some clearance amaryllis bulbs, and seeing me use a new seed starting method for these Alyssum seeds. Really excited. I'm starting seeds on a daily basis. I had a really nice comment the other day, someone who said this is really fun because I'm literally just planting seeds along with you. And I was like, oh, I should have called all of this plant with me or seed with me or something like that. But it made me feel really good because it was helping them get their seeds started as well. I think it's really fun. I'm starting a mix of seeds, some cut flowers, some perennials, some annuals. I am trying to start a whole bunch of seeds this year as a budget saving option for myself. Typically, something like Alyssum, I would buy a flat of Alyssum, and I would probably pay anywhere from like $16 to $25 for that flat of Alyssum. And here I've bought, package of seeds. I only used about half. These were on sale, so I think I paid like $2 for these Alyssum seeds. And then of course the soil and the containers I've used so much that they've already more than paid for themselves. What I'm really putting into it is time and patience, which that's worth money too, in my opinion. But yeah, time and patience. And I could theoretically have a flat or two of Alyssum for less than about, I would say, $7.50 when it's all said and done, which would be wonderful for my budget and even better for my garden. All right, y'all, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You are what helps grow the channel. I put the videos out, and if you like them and you make comments and you subscribe, you're the ones who are making it grow. You can also check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and I have been posting on YouTube Community. On YouTube Community, I've been trying to do a little bit more in-depth conversation. I've shown you a little bit more personal things about my life. It's kind of just a different outlook than what I put on social media. All right, you all, as always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.